The Exorcist Believers, the brand new film from Universal and Blumhouse from their newly acquired Exorcist franchise, a franchise that Blumhouse and Universal purchased for $400 million. Jason Blum stating this is the biggest risk as tenure as a producer at Blumhouse. For this movie, the film is directed, also co-story written by David Gordon Green, who just came off directing the new Halloween trilogy for Universal and Blumhouse. Green reteams with his frequent collaborators from the writing team with Danny McBride and Scott Teems, and Peter Sattler co-writes the screenplay with Gordon Green. The film is about these two girls being possessed. They are played by Lydia Jewett, who plays Angela, and Olivia O'Neill, who plays Catherine. The film mostly follows Angela's father, Victor, played by Leslie Odom Jr., who from a pretty dark place in the opening of the movie is now a single father caring for her daughter who goes missing. Then you also have Miranda, played by Jennifer Nettles, and Tony, played by Norbert Leo Butz, who are the fathers of Catherine, who are also trying to find their daughter. They also bring back from the very first Exorcist film, Ellen Burstyn, who has not returned to the franchise since the first one, but is back trying to be helpful for these parents struggling to find their kids. The film is 1 hour and 51 minutes and is rated R. Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new review here on Max Talks. We're going to talk about The Exorcist Believer. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings, and every week I talk from box office. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Comment down below. First of all, are you a fan of the Exorcist franchise? Is this your first time getting into the Exorcist franchise? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you going to see it or you're not going to see it? Also, like the video, guys, the thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel. So this is a franchise that's definitely a weak spot for me. I think I have seen the first Exorcist, I would say once, and it's not a franchise that I've seen any of the sequels. I don't really remember much about the first film. Saw it years ago. So basically, this is my introduction into the Exorcist franchise. And I wanted to see this because obviously it's the movie of the week. I want to review it for you guys. So I feel like it's always fair for people, even critics who haven't seen all of the movies, to judge this movie. And again, just last week, I rewatched all of the Saw movies for the first time into Saw X. So I had my fandom very much at a high heading into Saw X. And here I have nothing. I kind of didn't expect much. As I said, David Gordon Green is the director here who really, for me, dropped the ball with the last two Halloween films with Ends and Kills. Just really disappointing. And this is a director who I thought was really going somewhere in a major way. Again, he got his big upstart with that, being able to be picked to direct Pineapple Express. He also did Stronger, which I think is a very solid movie back in 2017, and then has been now in the Halloween franchise, and very similar to the Halloween franchise for Blumhouse and for David Gordon Green. This is supposed to be a trilogy of films, of Exorcist films. Again, they spent $400 million to buy it. So clearly they're going to have to make movies no matter what this movie does or how it is received. So let's get into my thoughts on The Exorcist Believer. And I just want to say right away, I really did not like this movie. It's one of my least times I've had a good time in the theater all year long. This is a really bad movie, and it's never I think the biggest problem with this movie is that it's never interesting. Even if you haven't seen an Exorcist film, if you've seen films in this genre before, if that means like the Conjuring universe, the Conjuring main films, for example, then you've seen this type of movie before. Two kids, they're getting possessed, parents are worried, all of these things. And this is just a very frustrating watch because for the first, I would say, hour and 20 minutes of the movie, it feels like nothing is going on. And the biggest problem that I have with the movie, obviously, is the screenplay. It's a really bad screenplay. It's given characters who you just don't care about. A lot of them just don't feel like real people. And I was talking to this my friend because he did compare it to, shows you how good The Conjuring is, what my friend said who watched it. And I said, the thing that Conjuring really did great is that the Warrens who are investigating it, they feel like real people, and the people who obviously they're investigating, and the kids and the families that they go to, at least in the first two films, they also just feel like genuine, real people who also get character arcs as well as the Warrens. No one really has a big character arc in this movie, except really, I guess, for Leslie Odom Jr. as Victor, who is definitely, most definitely, sorry, I meant to correct myself, most definitely the lead of the movie. Don't get it twisted about why there are two kids that are possessed. The movie heavily just focuses on one of them. And that was already the first mistake of the movie. If you wanted to heavily focus on Leslie Odom Jr. character and relationship with his daughter who gets possessed, why do we need to have another girl possessed if we're barely going to touch on her family? Now, yes, Catherine is in the movie a fair amount, but I found her parents to be actually kind of good. Jennifer Nettles was really good in the movie. I thought she was probably the strongest performance of the movie. And her and her, the Tony, played by Butts as well, were also very good. But we just get nothing with Catherine's side of the story. We don't get any backstory on Catherine. We don't other than her family is Christian. That's like the most we have going for Catherine's side of the movie. Now, there's a lot more to the side of Victor and Angela, but even that, it's very much mediocre. And I think the heights of this movie is boring, and the bottom of it is just bad. And this is such a frustrating movie because, as I said, there's two characters. If you just wanted to focus on one, just make the movie about one possession. We don't need to have another possession with another family if you're not going to give them any screen time. Bringing back Ellen Burstyn. Again, Ellen Burstyn was very much fine in the movie. She just didn't, unless you're like a diehard Exorcist fan, it just feels like a forced in legacy angle to a movie that just doesn't need any legacy angle to the movie, in my opinion, for someone who does not care about this franchise. I haven't seen anything about this franchise really since the first film. It's that way. And it's such a frustrating movie because there's also dialogue that is supposed to be dead serious. And not just is it delivered bad by some of these actors, but the screenplay itself is terrible. There are like 2 or 3 scenes in the movie that are supposed to be dead serious. And a character says a line and my whole theater erupted in laughter. There is some cheesy dialogue that pulls you out of the movie because, again, these are supposed to feel like real people who are going through this, and it just never does because the cheesiness of the lines and some of these characters don't feel like real people at all as we move on. Also, again, it's a horror movie, and the movie is so far from scary. It's sad sometimes. It's just not scary. And the movie just feels like it has no scary scenes, so it throws in a couple fake jump scares to try to get you to be scared. And I really am tired of horror films that just rely on jump scares to get you through a movie, because this movie could have been a terrifying movie, but instead it goes for just cheap jump scares that you can see coming from a mile away. 95% of them are fake jump scares where, like someone's walking through a door. Oh, it's not the killer. They're normal or something. It's no one. I just can't stand that in a horror movie. And we're coming a time in the horror genre where the really bad horror movies just don't understand what gets people scared. Now, yes, are jump scares scary for people? Of course they are. But well-timed, well-executed, and not over-reliance on jump scares are what makes some of these horror movies really good. And Exorcist heavily really uses jump scares as a crutch more than it is a helpful tool in the movie. And it's really just bleak. It's super serious, but then you get cheesy dialogue that makes you laugh, that kind of pulls you out of the movie. And I do want to say this. I am not very religious. I am Jewish, but again, this movie is heavily Catholic, heavily Christian, and I understand that. But most of this movie, and my friend literally told me this, and I was thinking about it. I just didn't want to say it out loud. I didn't want to offend anyone. But my friend did say it again. If this is not for you, I totally get it. If you disagree with me, it's just our opinion. My friend, who is, I believe, Catholic and Christian, he said that it felt like a Christian commercial for an hour, 50 minutes. And it felt like that. Now, yes, I'm not someone who hates other religions. I don't feel that at all. But again, the Conjuring universe, the Conjuring films, and even the 2 nun films, they are, of course, there's exorcisms, there's priests, there's nuns, but it doesn't feel like an ad to be grateful that you're Christian or something like that. This movie heavily relies on Leslie Odom Jr.'s character, who is an atheist, does not believe at all. He was Catholic, he was Christian, and then he wasn't. And then the movie tries to bring him back to being Christian. I just don't like that idea at all. It's a great idea to have someone in an Exorcist movie who doesn't believe in Catholicism and Christianity and stuff like that. But then they kind of like halfway through, like, well, we got to make him somewhat believable to have some belief in this. And it just felt like sometimes it's just a Christianity ad for an hour 50 minutes. And if that's for you, that's for you. But again, it's not for me. I'm not part of that religion. And it's not why I didn't like it. It just felt like it was an ad telling me to be Christian sometimes. And the movie actually just showing off its religion. So overall, I really didn't have a good time with The Exorcist Believer. It's easily one of the worst movies I've seen this year, maybe the worst one I've seen this year up to this point. Again, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. I get it. I'm just on the way on the other end of the stick, and I just did not enjoy myself watching the movie. So I'm going to give The Exorcist Believer a 0.5. Yes, a 0.5 out of 5. I'm going to go 23% for The Exorcist Believer. It's a terrible movie, in my opinion. And if we're making it, they're going to make, and they have to make at least 2 more movies. I am not excited for the remainder of the trilogy, as David Gordon Green has really dropped the ball with really the Halloween franchise, and he might be, again, ending another legacy franchise with The Exorcist. So that's my thoughts on this movie. What are your thoughts in the comment section down below? And I'll see you guys soon.